Welcome back, horse racing fans, to another episode of the Insight Post. Here we are on a Monday, looking ahead for a pretty good weekend of stakes races at Ellis Park, Delaware Park, and I believe we have a couple at Belmont Park also. So we're going to look ahead to those and kind of give you a horse to kind of watch out for. But as the weekend progresses, or the week progresses, we will give you our best bets, long shot bets, and how we're structuring our pick fours and pick five tickets for those stakes action races at each of those tracks. So let's look ahead to the grade one Stephen Foster that will be ran at Ellis Park. As we all know, Churchill Downs has moved their meet to Ellis Park due to their unknown track conditions of injured horses. So we're looking in here of a pretty good field of 8 as of now. Um, Obviously, the two Kenny McPeak horses will be the 1-2 favorites more than likely. I believe right now Smile Happy is the current morning line 7-2 favorite. Um, I prefer the other McPeak in here, Rattle and Roll, a little bit better price at 9-2, coming out of that Blame, a grade 3 stakes race in his last time out. So I think basically Kenny McPeak can run 1 and 2 in here. Um, Obviously, both horses right now are great prices, 7-2, 9-2. On those, Rattle and Roll probably will be post time favorite. But if you're getting 3-1, 4-1 on Rattle and Roll come post time, that's great value on this horse. Just because of the number that he was able to put up last time out in that Blame. Same kind of goes with Smile Happy, obviously coming out of the Alashiba. Another one that put up a good number, I believe it was 100, 110. So it's kind of like take your pick. You want to go exacta with these two. Um, I think it's between those two, obviously, right now. Proxy, the one for Michael Sidham with Joel Rosario, is also 3-1. So another interesting horse coming out of the Oaklawn Handicap, which a lot of these horses are kind of coming out of the same three races, whether it's the Oaklawn, the Blame, or the Alashiba. Um, I believe the Blame and the Alashiba a little bit better class wise than the Oaklawn Handicap. Kind of why we're sticking with or looking at the two McPeak train horses. An interesting one for sure will be West Willpower at 4-1. Of course, really no value. Um, but finished third in that Alashiba with Brad Cox and Flavion Pratt. Um, Obviously, a horse that's willing to hit the board. I believe it's like 14 out of 16 career starts. It's been finishing in the top three. Last 5 races were all graded stakes races, winning the New Orleans and the Fayette, both grade 2 stakes races. So interesting to see this horse coming back in here, trying to beat out the competition of Last Samurai, obviously Smile Happy, um, from that Alashiba Stakes. So a pretty good wide open field. Um, Not sure which number. It's probably in the middle of the card, probably later in the card. So a pretty good feel to get some value in your pick four, pick five tickets. Definitely have some value of an exacta and possible trifecta. With a lot of these horses, probably going to take a good equal amount of the money. But that's kind of our two picks. The McPeak horses are looking really good. We like the Brad Cox horse coming back in here. Proxy is one that we have a big question mark on right now. Joel Rosario has been riding blind. So we're kind of fading a little bit of the Rosario horses um, on some of our picks recently. So next we have the Florida Lee Grade 2, again at Ellis Park. This is for 4-year-olds and up of the fillies and mares. Another great betting race on the Saturday card. Hopefully it's a clean track. A lot of these horses stay entered in. We get 8-horse fields, better than the 5-horse fields that had been turning out. Obviously, we have a lot of really good fillies and mares coming into this race. If you look at the screen, a lot of them are not coming off of a win. The best finish right now would be Hardy Constitution finishing second in the Tepin with Joe Sharp and Tyler Gaffleone. You're looking at Pauline's Pearl and Amo Ray coming out of Latroin, a grade 1 stakes race, I believe on um, Kentucky Derby Day or the Kentucky Oaks Day. That Grade One stakes race had a lot of quality, and those two finishing fourth and sixth. A Mo Ray, finishing ahead of Pauline's Pearl in that one. Um, and I think right now that's kind of what we're looking at is a Mo Ray, if we can get the name right, as our top pick in here currently. A really good filly out of Uncle Mo. Um, Brad Cox, Flavion Pratt kind of throw this one back in against Grade Two Stakes Company. Um, Looking at her past wins, she won three in a row before coming into that Latroin. The Beholder, the Bayoka, and the Pogo Hop at Fairgrounds Oaklawn, and then obviously the Santa Anita Beholder. So interesting to see what that horse is able to do, kind of a bounce back coming out of the Latroin. Um, Obviously, there's no secret oath or search results in here or played hard. So I think it's a better spot for Mo Ray. Definitely one to definitely use. I think the horse right now it does not show the odds as because it's not the real featured race like the Stephen Foster, but probably will be the favorite just because it's beaten out Pauline's Pro the past two times. Pauline's Pro ran in the Beholder as well. Um, Finished seventh in there, and then of course finished sixth in the Latroin. So maybe one that is trending in the wrong direction right now would be Pauline's Pearl. Obviously, we're sticking with Amo Ray. Some other ones that are interesting. This Brandon Walsh train Moon Swag. I know fourth in the Shawnee is really nothing to be wowed about. The horse has posted some pretty good numbers. Not really comparable to a Mo Ray, but just one that seems to be trending in the right direction. Brandon Walsh horses have been, I think they're starting to cool off from when they were hot. But I kind of like the booking of Luis Saez in here for that horse. Um, so that one's interesting. And of course, a Hardy Constitution coming off of that second place. Tepin seems to be the horse that has finished the best, but it's also not ran in the class that some of these others have ran in, such as grade ones or grade three races. Next up, we have the grade two Wise Dan. So another pretty good race. Probably could be the better betting race of the card just because we're going a mile and a 16th on the turf. We have a couple horses in here, obviously coming out of the Arlington, the grade three. And we have the winner of that Arlington grade three and set piece. Again, that horse is probably going to be morning line favorite. Brad Cox for Giroux. Looking back at that Arlington race, I mean, the horse did what it usually does, comes from off and is able to get to the wire. An interesting one in here is the horse that kind of finished second is Get Smokin'. This one, Mark Cassidy trained, did finish, like I said, second in there, 103 speed figure, just off of set pieces 105. Um, Interesting. The horse doesn't seem to be what it used to be. If you go back and look this time last year, the horse was smoking. Grade two or grade three Tampa Bay Stakes finished second. Grade three Arlington Stakes finished second, and was running against some top class field or top class horses. The last win, the horse had to drop down to an allowance race at Gulfstream Park to pick up a win. So it does show some positives coming out of that Arlington Stakes with a second place finish. Again, it's going to have to battle out set piece, who's obviously the class and the best horse in this field. But for some value, Get Smoking is definitely interesting. Just because it ran second to set piece, it kind of knows what set piece is going to do, and maybe it can make some adjustments off of that. Another one is Harlan Estate that ran third again in that Arlington Grade 3 stakes race um, at Churchill Downs. So we will see if maybe the Ellis Park pea patch turf has any effect on these types of horses, and is the turf going to be too firm? Is it going to be soft? Is it going to be good? What are we getting for Saturday? And as we're here Monday, it's kind of tough to decide. So any other horses in here are definitely going to be pretty good price horses. You have Camp Hope, who finished terribly in the opening burst, finished 10th in that race. So again, it's what do you do with that one? But one that should definitely improve and run a little bit better. Tut's Revenge is interesting. Finished fourth um, in the Lake Hamilton, so that's an interesting one. Also coming in with probably some pretty good odds that are, I guess, value for the exacta trifecta types. Next, we have the John A. Nerud, the Grade 2 stakes race. Again, looking at Ellis Park for this stakes race. This one's interesting. I know I'm using Horse Racing Nation for a lot of my stuff right here. It has Zozos as a probable in here. Zozos is also entered into the Hanshin Stakes, so we will see which one he kind of sticks with. So let's say Zozo stays in here. Obviously, will be the favorite coming out of that next go overnight stakes on the Churchill Downs card for Brad Cox. So let's say Zozo's not in here. We're looking at obviously Candyman Rocket. We were big on this horse as our inside pick or inside post pick of the day in that run happy grade 3 and beat all those incomers fairly well. Um, Again, posted a big 109 speed figure, so the speed figures look to be getting back to where Candyman Rocket has been known to run. Um, Hopefully, he's going to have to step forward in this one and run another big speed figure. Usually, if you look back, he can run back to back pretty good speed figures. So we're hoping that happens as well. Should be the second, maybe even the third betting choice in here with Wayburn also entered. Um, Wayburn coming out of that Westchester Grade 3 stakes race, finishing third. um, I just like Candyman Rocket right now, the form that he's in. Um, Ran pretty well, like I said, in that run happy, beat out Twisted Ride, who's also in here. And basically, him and Zozos, if Zozo stays entered in this one, are the only two horses coming off of wins. Looking at another good price would be Three Technique for Jason Cook. The horse finished third to Zozos in that overnight Knicks Go Stakes. I think was possibly maybe the second betting option in there. So interesting to see what Three Technique is able to do. A really good speed horse, and compared to what that horse has been running against, there's no class or there's no real speed burners from what Three Technique is used to running against. Um, some of the other ones, I mean, you have Sheriff Bianco coming in for Linda Rice, which is interesting. Third in a commentator handicap. Run Classic, fifth in the Commonwealth. I mean, like I said, you have two horses coming off of wins. You can even look at Twisted Ride, who finished second in that run happy to Candyman Rocket. And interesting, I think if Zozos decides to go to the Hanshin, this is Candyman Rocket's race and possible Wayburn's. But if he stays in here, it kind of opens it up into a really good race as well. And I'm going to switch screens if Zozo stays or does not stay. The Hanshin stakes. As you can see, I believe Three Technique is also entered in this one as well. So interesting to see where these horses are going to go. But obviously, Zozos will be favorited in here with Three Technique. An interesting horse kind of coming into, I guess, stakes company would be Collaborate for Mike Maker with Luis Saez aboard. This one out of Into Mischief. Um, really hasn't done much in some stakes racing. Comes from Gulfstream Park, shipped into Belmont, finished third in allowance, beaten out by Rockney, which was a really good horse. On that Belmont card that day. So interesting to see what Collaborate can do. Does have a load of races under its belt. Like I said, really hasn't done much in graded or even stakes races. Has been beaten out by Wayburn a couple times or White Barrio. So interesting that the horse is going to go here, kind of getting away from Wayburn possibly. But again, I think it's definitely up against it if Zozo stays in here and Three Techniques stays in here as well. Um, so those are kind of the two with, we're looking at Collaborate to see what can happen there. Um, A lot of these horses are coming out of smaller stakes races, nothing compared to the overnight like what Zozo's ran in. So basically, he's going to be the class and probably be the speed and the best horse coming in here. If Three Techniques decides to go with him into this Hanshin, I think it's a 2-horse race between those two. We will use Collaborate just because I think the horse is trending in the right direction. Gets Luis Saez aboard, Mike Maker. I mean, you got to use those two connections anytime that they kind of team up. Santon's an interesting with Brendan Walsh and Tyler Gaffleone. Comes out of the blame, finishing 5th in there. Probably the biggest class horse or outside of Zozos would be Santon coming out of that blame. You have some horses that finished 5th in the Aristides, 6th in the Bourbon Trail, 5th in the Ben Ali. So nothing that's really coming off a big win or a big race that's been pointed in here besides Zozos. And lastly, we have the Dwyer. This was the one at Belmont Park, a mile for 3-year-olds. This one right now is a small field with Fort Bragg, Joey Freshwater, Harrodsburg, and Saudi Crown. Hopefully there's more entered. I know it's early for Belmont to be posting stuff, but if you're looking, Fort Bragg obviously will be the heavy favorite. Saudi Crown is interesting coming in here. For Brad Cox, there's really not much we could say about the Dwyer right now because I think there's still a lot of horses that are pending. And you could see some other horses possible be entered in here before Saturday, at least that's what we're hoping. Because it's a very small field. There's a couple other graded stakes races on Saturday. Of course, you have Delaware Park with some grade 3 stakes races. With an interesting one in here with Fireline out of Arrogate for Chad Brown and Dylan Davis gets them out. Won an allowance race at Belmont that's entered in this grade 3 stakes race, and possibly with those types of connections should be close to the favorite. Miracle Mendelssohn sire in here for Todd Pletcher is another interesting horse. You have some other horses coming out of some pretty big graded stakes races as well. Bowpool comes out of the Black Eyed Susan. Obviously, Promise Her America coming out of the disappointing Kentucky Oaks 14th place finish. Cat's Timber coming out of that Black Eyed Susan as well. So probably a really good wide open betting race outside of the two Chad Brown and Todd Pletcher trains. Definitely going to be some value in here for a trifecta wager. Again, we will kind of dissect these and post our picks on our social media, so make sure you guys follow those as well. And we have the Robert Dick Memorial Grade 3 at Delaware Park. Also, in here you have a couple horses coming out of some allowance races for Christophe Clement at Belmont. Entered in here, it looked to be really good. Kenny McPeak puts one in here coming out of the Kirtana Stakes, finishing 2nd in their Lovely Princess. I'm not going too much in depth. Miss Yearwood is probably going to be the favorite. Winner of her last 2 for Ian Wilkes, Chris Landeros, that will take charge sire there. Looks to be the best horse in here currently, just by kind of what we've been watching on some videos. Reggio is interesting, coming out of the Gamely as well. So that's kind of our quick run through of the Delaware Parks. But obviously the highlight will be the Stephen Foster. We look to get our PPs once they're released, I think Wednesday, Thursday. We will do another short video of kind of that late pick 5 for the Ellis Park Saturday and maybe the Delaware Park, as it seems to be pretty good betting as well. We will give you that video before Saturday so you can watch and wager with us as well. We thank everyone for watching. Make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe, share our video out. Let us know in the comments how your racing week is going and what you're looking forward to in the upcoming summer stakes action. Thanks.